Rather large device, but not really anything too out of the ordinary when compared to other phablets of its size. It is a very thin device, especially the Moto Z, not the Moto Z Force, which has a little bit more girth to it and a bit of a chamfered edge on the sides. Underneath the surface, you can pretty much expect all of the same from a flagship device, a Snapdragon 820 and 4GB of RAM, along with pretty much all of the different connections that you would expect, including NFC for stuff like Android Pay.
Overall, it's a very nice feeling device. It might be a little bit big for some people at 5.5 inches for the screen, but it does feel very premium, and the regular Moto Z that I have in my hand right now actually feels quite light. The Moto Z Force, as you're seeing in the shot right now, is a little bit beefier, a little bit heavier, and it has that shatterproof screen, so you can drop the phone and you're not going to have to worry about the screen ever shattering. Overall, though, the look is quite nice, but the camera hump on the back does stick out quite a bit. Now, the small things about a phone tend to really excite me, and that camera hump, even though it does protrude out quite a bit, is covered up by the different Moto mod covers. It actually makes the camera very flush with the body, and it's a nice little addition to have, probably an incentive that you can have to have an actual cover for the phone to customize it the way that you want it to be. Among other things, the Moto Z Force has a few different specifications when compared to the original Moto Z. First of all, its battery is larger at 3,400 mAh compared to 2,600 mAh, and then you can also get the fast charging, the faster between the two, where you can get half of the battery in 15 to 20 minutes. After that, the camera is 21 megapixels instead of 13 when compared to it, and of course, the Moto Z Force has the shatterproof screen, so even if you are able to drop it should still be fine.
As we've already mentioned, the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force have different cameras. The interface is pretty intuitive and pretty simple to use, but the actual cameras themselves will be 13 megapixels for the Moto Z and 21 megapixels for the Moto Z Force. We weren't able to take any samples from the cameras that we were using, so we will just have to wait until we get our hands on full review units to bring you our review of the cameras of these two phones.
Now, the Moto Z is a very thin device, and it's very lovely to hold in the hand. It's also quite light. The Moto Z Force rather, is of course going to be a little bit beefier and a little bit thicker and heavier. But one omission that you're probably noticing as I rotate this device around in my hands is the lack of a headphone jack. No, there's not going to be a headphone jack on the Moto Z or the Moto Z Force. Instead, it will come with an adapter that goes into the USB-C port, and that is how you're going to have your 3.5mm jack available for this phone. Now, the software on the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force is really familiar. It's very similar to a stock version of Android, complete with the vertical app drawer, the different quick settings menus, and of course the settings around here with the recent app screen right around here. Everything is pretty much what you would expect it to be, and of course we still have the different dots on the top and bottom of the front of the device made for the active display. The active display is still here, still a very nice feature to have on these phones. Makes it easy to look at what's going on the phone without having to actually turn it on.
But of course, the main story with the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force is modularity. This is a arguably easier way of getting modularity on a device, as you don't have to pull a battery out or even turn off and turn on the phone again. You just have to snap on the peripheral to the back of the device and you're good to go. There are a number of different covers that Moto Maker will provide, so you can change the look of the phone whenever you want to. And it actually feels like this phone, because of how thin it is, it needs to have these covers to sort of round out or even complete the look and feel of this phone. There are a few different peripherals that are available, including battery cases, and Incipio has already made a few extra battery cases that snap right onto the back and provide even more power to make sure that the battery life goes as long as you need it to. There's a Pico projector which goes onto the back and does make the phone quite thick, but it does have a Pico projector inside that can be angled onto the wall or onto the ceiling, so you can easily provide presentations or just watch anything that you want on a bigger screen. And finally, there is a JBL speaker that goes around the back of the device. Actually adds a lot of girth to it, but it does have a 10-hour battery inside and provides some really great sound that you can hear in the following clip.
Overall, we're pretty impressed with what we see in the Moto Z. There are a few trade-offs, like with the headphone jack and the fact that there are two different versions, both of which have different features to really boast, but overall, both of the phones bring modularity to a different level, and they also make them a snap. You still get the ability to style the phone whichever way you want, and it's a pretty nice way of just changing the look without having to go through the Moto Maker again and getting a whole new phone.
Overall, the modularity is a wonderful idea that might actually be executed properly, because it's very easy to just snap on and snap off different functions onto the device, and Moto thinks that it's going to be a very innovative step forward for smartphones. And so there you have it for this hands-on with the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force. These two phones are very exciting, and even though there are some trade-offs with some of the features and the fact that you get the Moto mods to add even more functions to the device, it looks like the trade-offs will even everything out, and this could be a very worthwhile device to have later in the summer and later on in the fall when unlocked versions come out. So keep it tuned to Android Authority for even more on this new Moto line of phones, and make sure you stay tuned for our camera reviews and also comparisons that we make between this and other devices in the flagship market this year. And after all that, make sure you subscribe to our channel and drop us some likes on these videos because we are your source for all things Android.